Part 11. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 102. To say that Han Jian doesn't want it in his heart is definitely just pretending, but his desire is relatively low. Now there are many things for him to think about, and there is less space in his brain to think about these things. When Nuan raised his head and hit Han Jian, turned his arm over and threw it away. Han Jian was a little unhappy this time. He held his head with one hand, tapped Worm's shoulder with the other hand, and whispered, "You look like a prostitute. Why don't you recognize someone when you hold up your pants?" Nuan shook his shoulders angrily, looked at the phone and complained. "I'll tell you that I have a big head if I give you a pillow. If you go to negotiate with Tu Xiao for Yan Qingqing, you won't say that you are in danger. Stop saying that. I understand. So love will disappear, right?" "No, we haven't fallen in love yet." "When did we fall in love?" As soon as he finished speaking, Han Jian felt that he had said it wrong. Nuan threw away his phone and turned towards Han Jian. He grabbed Han Jian's neck with both hands and sat on his waist. He gritted his teeth and whispered, "If I strangle you to death, you can't give in to me. Every time I quarrel with you, you have to stand up to the wind. What? It's your honor to win the argument." As soon as he finished speaking, Li Jinhe's voice came from outside the door. "Han Jian, I forgot to bring you pillows, I'm coming in." Hearing the sound of the doorknob, Han Jian widened his eyes to signal for warmth. The warmth was gone, and he sat on Han Jian's stomach for a while before giving up. There was an injury on his back, and the pain made Han Jian moan in pain. Result: the sound of the doorknob stopped and the mother-in-law was gone. Han Jian looked at Wen Nuan lying next to him, and Wen Nuan looked at Han Jian, and then he pulled the quilt and covered his head. Han Jian couldn't help laughing. "It's your fault for making you laugh, for making you laugh." The small fist hit Han Jian's body through two quilts. Han Jian didn't feel much, but he couldn't stop laughing. Nuan, do you think Mom will misunderstand us too, ha 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 ha." At this moment, Wen's face hidden under the quilt was almost bleeding. Her life had been protected by Li Jinhe and Wen Shi, and she was relatively late to mature into men and women, but she should have understood it even at this age. She didn't think so much about the quarrel with Han Jian. She just trusted Han Jian and was more relaxed when playing. Who would have thought that her mother heard it? It was all because of Han Jian's moan. It was too hot under the quilt and she was careful in front of her. She exposed her head, only to find that Han Jian was still looking at her. If she was simply misunderstood, there was no need to hide it. She pounced on Han Jian again and said angrily, "I didn't hit you, what did you call just now? My back is injured, have you forgotten?" With that said, Wen Nuan stopped making trouble and no longer pressed Han Jian. Instead, he asked Han Jian to turn around and lift up his pajamas to see that the injury on his back had healed, but there were still obvious scars. When suddenly faced Han Jian, blew a breath on his back. It was definitely a very simple breath. As a result, Han Jian became uneasy and pulled the quilt. "Sleep." This time, I touched Han Jian's shoulder in exchange for warmth. "Just playing for a while." Han Jian ignored Wen Nuan, but after 10 minutes, Han Jian was silent. Wen sat up and put a finger under Han Jian's nose. At this time, Han Jian suddenly spoke. "I'm not dead." Nuan was startled, and he slapped Han Jian on the shoulder like a vent, and whispered, "There was no movement at all while you were sleeping. I was worried that you might have died suddenly." "Sleep. Just playing for a while." Han Jian really fell asleep. If he kept talking to Nuan like this, she could nag her all night. Han Jian fell asleep, and Nuan lay on the bed and looked at the roof with wide eyes. "Why can't you sleep today?" "Han Jian, don't sleep." Han Qian was a light sleeper and would wake up if there was any movement, let alone someone talking around him. He made a sound through his nose, but his mind was still sleeping. After hearing Han Qian's answer, Nuan looked at the roof and continued. Han Qian, tell me whether you like me, or like me. Like. Dislike. Han Qian. What are you doing? Are you sleeping or not? Han Qian suddenly sat up and glared at Wen Nuan. He dreamed of winning the lottery and started counting the next few zeros. However, he was woken up by Wen. He raised his hands and Han Qian frowned. Get lost, I won't hug you. Bah, sister is surrendering. I won't hug you even if I surrender. Han Qian lay down again, and fell asleep within 2 seconds of lying down. What can I say about this guy's sleep quality? He can fall asleep in seconds, but is also easily woken up. If he sleeps during the day, he will be half asleep half of the time. Half awake. As a result, the warmth began to act like a monster again. When Nuan spoke for the last time, Han Qian stretched out his hand to helplessly cover her mouth. While you're talking, I'll wrap you in a quilt and throw you into the living room. After saying that, he glanced at his phone and saw it was 2 o'clock. The next day, it was no surprise that Han Qian got up late. His mind and body had been very tired recently. When he rubbed his eyes and walked out of the room, he looked at the warmth sitting on the breakfast table, then looked back at the bed. This bitch today, why did you get up so early? Li Jin. He prepared breakfast and called Han Qian to come over to eat. When he sat down, Han Qian was still confused. He didn't wake up. Li Jin. He filled a bowl of porridge and handed it to Han Qian, laughing softly. Are you going to be late? Why don't you take a day off? Han Qian nodded confusedly, then shook his head again, biting the bun and whispering vaguely. He comes to work late 4 out of 5 days a week, and leaves early 3 days a week. General Han from Honor Company, it's okay to be late, he's a baby. Why did Li Jin he find the son-in-law so pleasing to his eyes? Lao Wen, who had always doted on Wine Nuan, tapped Wen's forehead with chopsticks and frowned. Why is it so sour? If you had let Han Qian enter Changxiang earlier, would you have made Glory proud today? After dinner, you also went to work, and you didn't know how to worry until the Lin family left you alone. Wen Nuan didn't take this chopstick to heart. Anyway, her forehead was very hard. She stuffed the bun into her mouth and mumbled this. Han Qian reluctantly handed her a glass of water. After drinking the water, Wen felt long. He breathed a sigh of relief. Han Qian also told me to work hard to stabilize my position in the company. He said that it would be embarrassing for a vice president who has been working as a vice president for more than 3 or 4 years to be taken away by a president who suddenly returns. I also want to work hard. But I don't know what to do. Lao Wen, Han Qian, you two can teach me. Han Qian took a big gulp of porridge and said vaguely. Just do your normal job, pay more attention to the things that pass through your hands, and don't let others lead you by the nose, even if what he says is absolutely right. Wen Nuan nodded seriously, then set his eyes on Lao Wen, who curled his lips. Han Qian is here, I don't care about you. If you can't do it well, just get married as soon as possible and let Han Qian take over Changxiang's position. 5 rings. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 103. It was already 11 o'clock when Han Qian arrived at the company. He walked into the elevator without punching in. Han Qian scratched his head and looked at the empty hall curiously. Why is it so deserted today? Where have all the busy people gone every day? Han Qian understood life when he arrived at the general department with a face full of doubts. Snapped. It was a slap to the forehead with a crisp sound. What the hell, it's Saturday. I was so busy with work this week that I forgot the day of the week. No wonder Nuan Nuan muttered that she didn't want to go to work when she got off the car. Why? When he turned around to go home, the door to Yang Ian's office was opened, and Yang Lan revealed half of his body inside, tilting his head and wondering. Han Qian? Why did you come to the company on Saturday? As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Baibei also exposed half of his body from the crack of the door. Han Qian covered his face and said in embarrassment. Damn, I forgot today is Saturday. You just came? Is it 11 o'clock? If you are late for work every day, don't leave since you are here. Help me take Baibei down. I still have some things to do here. Yang Lan pushed Xiao Baibei out of the office and then closed the door. Han Qian looked down at Xiao Baibei, and Xiao Baibei looked up at Han Qian. The two broken children, one big and one small, sighed at the same time. The Hall of Glory was relatively deserted on Saturday. All departments were okay, and there were staff who came to work overtime in a hurry. Han Qian took Xiao Baibei to the supermarket again. Xiao Baibei's school bag was filled again. Xiao Baibei held his hand. There was a wave candy as big as Han Qian's hand in it, and Han Qian was holding a lollipop in his mouth. 8 pieces of wave candy and 50 cents for a lollipop. When the bully from the general department appeared at the entrance of the marketing department, the marketing manager who was busy preparing the furniture square was slightly startled and said softly. Han Qian from the general department. Han Qian nodded with a smile and said with a smile. Need help? No, 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 come here if you're busy. By the way, the sales department is busier, and everyone is working overtime. The manager of the marketing department is a short, fat little old man with a kind-hearted face. Unfortunately, he is a very conscientious person. Han Qian was rejected. He took Xiao Baibei's hand and turned around to leave. When he walked to the elevator door and waited for it, Xiao Baibei suddenly sat on the ground, lowered his head and sighed. Hey! I can't walk anymore. Uncle, you bought me too many snacks. I don't know which little liar said in the supermarket that he was very good at eating. Han Qian looked at Xiao Baibei sitting on the ground and playing rogue, and laughed softly. Here, give the school bag to Uncle. Uncle, please hold me. I'll just carry my school bag. Then all the staff in the business department saw a guy standing at the door holding a little lolly and asked if they wanted to help. Come help with the child? Is this, here to cause trouble? The manager of the business department smiled and took Han Qian into his independent office, and also gave him a glass of water. Han Daxianier's reputation is getting bigger and bigger in the company, so it's better to coax him into joining her, not because of Han Daxianier's talent, but because of his temper. Han Qian took the water and said thank you, then took the wave candy from Xiao Baibei's hand and wrapped it. He took out a bottle of yogurt from his school bag, put a straw in it and handed it to Xiao Baibei who was sitting next to him. Seeing this, Manager Qin from the business department smiled. Minister Yang's precious daughter, right? I've heard people say it before, but I've never seen her before. She's said to be very afraid of strangers. Han Qian laughed after hearing this. You're such a mess, huh? Brother Qin, I don't even know what to call the managers in each department now. Are they managers or ministers? Qin Shui chuckled. Outside you are a manager, but in the company you are called a director. In fact, everything is the same, it's just a title. If Han Qian doesn't come, I still want to find you. This morning I made a cruel decision and asked the staff to call me Mona Lisa, Sophia, and other companies called, guess what? They told the staff that many people in our area have contacted them and are talking about agents, and they also mentioned our Honor Home Plaza. I was really impressed by you. You guessed it right. Hee hee. Han Qian smiled softly, and then Qin Shui spoke again. Actually, I'm fine here. Although I'm a little busier, I haven't stopped moving forward and haven't encountered much trouble. However, when we went to the meeting this morning, Director G of the operations department encountered some troubles. The risk department, Mr. Yan, Mr. Gao was asking her if the merchants settled in, the operation department would be responsible for unified training. If she said no, it would most likely become a vegetable market. Minister G didn't seem to consider this matter. Before coming down from the meeting, we have enough people here, why don't you go to the operations department and take a look? Hearing this, Han Qian laughed again. Brother Qin, why do I feel like you're chasing me away? Okay, I won't bother you here, I'm busy. If you need anything, just go to the general department and notify Sister Yang, and I'll come over to help you. Nothing else. I just have a lot of energy, so I can move a book or run some errands. Hey, Han Daxian please stop being so modest. Brother is still busy here, so I won't serve you anymore. You can do whatever you want. Being kicked out again? To be honest, Han Qian really didn't want to go to the operations department to see Ji Jing, and he didn't know why. Then Han Qian ordered a KFC in the lobby on the first floor. At first, he wanted a fast food box lunch. Xiao Baibei heard that Han Qian was going to order takeaway, holding Han Qian's little finger tightly with his chubby little hand, sighing. I don't know what KFC is like. Mom hasn't taken me to eat for a long time. Uncle, do you know? Han Qian clicked on Xiao Baibei, who was sitting on the bar as a mascot, and laughed and cursed. Why are you thinking so much, little thing? If you want to eat from now on, just tell your uncle, can we eat the whole family bucket? A family bucket without mom? No. You eat 2 portions. Great. Then Xiao Baibei sat at the top of the front bar in the lobby on the first floor, looking at the door and looking forward to it. The little guy sitting on it really looked like a mascot. But instead of waiting for the delivery boy, the Yasha Empress did. When Yan Qingqing walked into the door, she didn't see clearly that it was Xiao Baibei sitting at the bar. Instead, she saw Han Qian wearing new sportswear, pointing at Han Qian and scolding him. What did you put there? Throw it away. Xiao Baibei was so frightened that he lay back in Han Qian's arms. He turned over and hid his face in his uncle's arms. He put his forehead on Han Qian's chest and grabbed Han Qian's clothes with both hands. Han Qian comforted the baby in his arms. Little Lolita, only now did Yan Qingqing see the little Lolita in Han Qian's arms. Han Qian looked at Yan Qingqing helplessly, tilted his head and said. Throw her away, Sister Yang, I'm too late. Don't ask me why I came to the company, it's because I'm sick in the head. You go upstairs, I'll wait for a takeaway. Yan Qingqing stepped forward and poked the meatball in Han Qian's arms with her hand, and whispered. Don't tell me that Yang Lan came here to ask you to take care of the child. Isn't little Yang Jia on vacation? Xiao Baibei shrank into Han Qian's arms again. Han Qian hugged Xiao Baibei and sat on the chair with a bitter smile. Yang Jia is still young, don't you go out to play during the holidays? She is an aunt, not a nanny. I heard that you came to hold a meeting with senior executives in the morning. Were you busy just now? Yan Qingqing seemed to be no longer in a hurry, standing at the edge of the bar and replied softly. I went out with the finance department and transferred 4 million of Tu Xiao's money. I was transferring 4 million to him when we started the groundbreaking. I told Guandegu that the longest interval would not exceed a week. Scrooge, what did you order? Or a box lunch? Aren't you tired of eating it? It's economical and affordable. Unfortunately, Xiao Baibei wanted to eat KFC, so I ordered a family bucket. I want to eat too, but I haven't eaten in a long time. Call uncle. After saying that, Han Qian turned around with the child in his arms. Yan Qingqing, a tiger girl, grabbed the stapler on the table. Soon after, KFC was delivered. Xiao Baibai was still pampered by Han Qian and sat on the table, holding him in his arms, eating fried chicken from a bucket. Han Qian and Yan Qingqing each had a burger and 2 cups of Coke. Xiao Baibai had yogurt for himself. Han Qian squeezed the burger hard before opening it, and the burger shrank a lot. It was half the size in one bite, he said vaguely. This thing costs 12 yuan a piece? Isn't it just 2 buns with some chicken and lettuce leaves? I don't like this salad dressing very much, it's a bit sour. Han Qian, you are very tacky. If you want to talk like this, why don't you just put on a sack when you go out? What kind of cigarettes do you smoke? How about smoking corn sticks? Aren't you being arrogant? Can corn stalks and cigarettes have the same smell? It was you who raised the issue first. The two of them looked at each other and turned their heads to the other side arrogantly. At this time, Xiao Baibai was full and wiped his mouth awkwardly with a tissue. With the other hand, he handed the yogurt to Han Qian and gestured to help her open it. Qian had a Coke in his left hand and a burger in his right hand. Yan Qingqing took it and opened the lid for Xiao Baibai. Then Xiao Baibai bowed her head to Yan Qingqing very seriously and spoke like a grandma. Thank you, uncle. Uncle, what is this? Yan Qingqing didn't understand, so Han Qian said heartlessly. She said thank you, auntie, Xiao Baibai, you can't scream nonsense, you have to call auntie. If this spreads out in the company, it will be completely ruined. Xiao Baibai said obediently, but he didn't know if he took it to heart. Han Qian was a little worried and explained the relationship to Xiao Baibai seriously. And then was asked by Xiao Baibai's words and didn't know how to answer. Why should we eat the whole family if we are not one family? How do you explain that to a 4 or 5-year-old? Han Qian didn't bother to explain. He pinched Xiao Baibai's face and told her again not to call anyone. Not long after Yang Lan came here, Yang Lan came downstairs. When he saw Xiao Baibai sitting on the table, his expression suddenly changed. Xiao Baibai also sensed the danger, stood up and rushed towards Han Qian, screaming that her uncle asked her to sit down. Xiao Baibai escaped. Yang Lan ate Xiao Baibai's leftover fried chicken and whispered to Yan Qingqing. Isn't it a little bad to scold Jijing so harshly in the morning? I know you wanted Jijing to show up more in high-level meetings to increase her status. This morning was a bit, ugh. Just as Yan Qingqing was about to speak, Han Qian stretched out his hand to wipe the salad dressing from the corner of Yan Qingqing's mouth. Then he continued to play with Xiao Baibai as if nothing happened. Now Yan Qingqing was not calm anymore and looked at Yang Ian's eyes full of gossip. Yan Qingqing stretched out her hand and slapped Han Qian on the back of the head, saying angrily, "What are you doing?" Han Qian turned his head and frowned at Yan Qingqing, wondering. Is there salad dressing in the corner of your mouth? I know it looks weird if you don't wipe it off. Yan Qingqing almost got mad at this sentence. Does Han Qian have no brain? Then Han Qian handed Xiao Baibai to Yang Lan. Sister Yang, I'm going to the operations department to have a look. Qin Shui from the business department told me what happened in the morning. No more, not a drop. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 104. When he walked into the operations department, there was no one inside. Han Qian quietly pushed open the door of Jijing's office, looked at the woman lying on the table, and knocked lightly on the door. Knock knock knock. Jijing raised her head and looked at Han Qian in confusion. She seemed to have cried, her eyes were slightly red and swollen, and her hair was a little messy. After a full minute, Jijing frowned. What are you here for? Han Qian walked into the office with a smile, pulled up a chair and sat in front of the table, holding his chin in his hands and smiling. I'm not too full. Let's see if you've had lunch. Eat some. Han Qian, I don't want to make trouble with you. I'm very annoyed and I'm afraid of losing my temper with you. Be good. You can play by yourself first. Ji Jing's mood was very low. There were so many people in the high-level meeting, and she was scolded by the two leaders. Not to mention a woman, even a man would become irritable. Ji Jing continued to lie on the table. She didn't know how long it took, but she slowly raised her head and found that not only had this guy not left, but he was lying on the table and staring at her. The arm distance between the two was only 3 to 5 centimeters. Ji Jing was stunned for a moment, then stood up suddenly, looked at Han Qian with a pale face and screamed. Why are you so close to me? Not questioning, but shouting angrily. Han Qian ignored Ji Jing's angry shouts and whispered softly while lying on the table. Actually, the operation of the shopping mall is very simple. The owner only needs to manage the hygiene of the shopping mall and the rules and regulations I mentioned. We are a high-end shopping mall. If you have nothing to do, you can take a look at how other shopping malls do it. In addition, you don't have to worry about how the store is, as the agents are all big brands. The manufacturers will send teachers to teach their bosses, and they will also let the store staff learn. If we don't do well, we just need to feed back the news to the main factory, and they will come. What are you thinking about every day when dealing with these things that may damage your sign? You can't answer such a simple thing? Ji Jing was silent for 2 minutes, then whispered and asked. It's that simple. Han Qian blinked. Yeah, it's that simple. Don't think about whether these stores can sell goods. You only need to think about how to maintain the order of the mall and make the mall look high-end. The rest your operations department doesn't have to think about it. We charge rent, and they are more anxious about spending money to rent a house than you are. Han Qian, I feel like you didn't come here to teach me, you came here to laugh at me. You guessed it right, you took the position of director of the operations department through the back door, right? No wonder you can't play with high performance. Yang Lan, Ji Jing, Song Jing, the three of you together may not be equal to one. Han Qian mocked Ji Jing mercilessly, and Ji Jing was not angry. She tilted her head and looked at Han Qian and asked. Are you the one? Han Qian narrowed his eyes and smiled. Now you only have one thing to look at? How many things does your brother Qian have that you never thought of? Do you have time to count the moons together? There is only one moon. So I asked you to count the moon. Stop counting the stars. It's difficult for you and your brain. Ji Jing's face was no longer pale and decadent because of Han Qian's anger. Her plump breasts kept rising and falling. At this time, Han Qian said, "It's so beautiful." Ji Jing was furious, but she still didn't have the courage to touch Han Qian's body. She could only grab something on the table and hit Han Qian. Unfortunately, Han Qian guessed what she wanted to grab every time. Whenever Han Qian's hand fell on this item, Ji Jing would quickly withdraw her hand. In the end, Ji Jing was so angry that Han Qian cried. This time Han Qian panicked. Han Qian thought that he was a good talker, but he was not good at coaxing women. He called his aunt, sister, but Ji Jing still cried. Han Qian couldn't stand it anymore. He slapped his palm on the table and said angrily. Why are you crying? I'll take off your clothes. It worked. Ji Jing really stopped crying, but... She got up to carry the flower pot, and Han Qian turned around and ran away. At this time, Ji Jing's cell phone rang. The ringtone was Han Qian's favorite Japanese comic episode, but this cell phone was not much better than Han Qian's. Ji Jing picked up the phone and took a look, then pressed mute. The shameless Han Qian couldn't bear it anymore. Aunt Ji, who is your boyfriend? I will never speak. Absolutely. Get lost, Auntie doesn't need a boyfriend. You're right, the old aunt is the hardest to deal with. Jijing went to carry the flower pot again. She really wanted to smash Han Qian to death, but her phone rang inappropriately. Han Qian had already begun to thank the caller in his heart. What the hell? Thank you, you saved my 2 lives. This time Jijing answered the phone, and she didn't know what was said on the other side of the phone. Jijing suddenly burst out and shouted at the phone. I have no money. All my money is given to you. I am not a bank. When Jijing yelled, Han Qian was confused again. Men actually gossip too. Especially a woman who has a misophobia about men. She doesn't know what was said on the phone. Jijing's face became increasingly ugly and she gritted her teeth. Impossible, I spent less than 200,000 yuan on the car, and the rest is the money my boss gave me. There is absolutely no way I can give it to you. Mary. You want to buy a house, and buying a car is your business. I will give it to you every day. I gave you all the money I earned every month, and I only kept a little. Why do you still ask me for it? Curse. Curse me, how much money have I given you over the years? Jijing hung up the phone while she was hysterical. She sat weakly on a chair and covered her head, as if she was very sad. Han Qian lay on the table and sighed, saying softly, Hey. Aunt Ji, your boyfriend is too scumbag, isn't he? Do you still have to rely on you for financial support every month? Is he handsome? Or is there any way to attract you? You have to sell your car to support him. Since you don't, why don't you break up if you are willing to get married? There are so many good men. Jijing closed her eyes and covered her head and said weakly. Don't make blind guesses, Han Qian, thank you. I will treat you to dinner when you have time. What are you going to eat when you are so poor? Aunt Ji, do you want me to help you teach him a lesson? I have no other ability, but I am good at fighting. I really can't let Guan Daegu from the 8th district lead dozens of people there. Those boys are very dedicated. To deal with such people, slap them both in the face, tie them up and pour some gasoline on them, and they will definitely be honest next time. Jijing laughed when she said this, and said with a self-deprecating smile. Pour it with gasoline? Slap them both? Ha! What's going on? Are you still reluctant to let go? That's not right. You two men are misophobic. Are you trying to keep yourself safe for your boyfriend? Didn't he get it from you, so he asked you for money? Han Qian. I guessed it right? I feel like my brain is very useful. Jijing took a deep breath and sighed, unable to speak. It's my mother. Old ladies? That's easier to deal with. Oh. Your mother, I'm sorry, Minister Ji, you are busy first, and I will prepare some lunch for you. Han Qian really ran away this time. Didn't you tell me earlier that this was your mother's phone call? I thought he was some scumbag. Thinking back to what he said just now, Han Qian really wanted to slap himself. In front of his daughter, he said, slap his mother and then hang him up and pour gasoline on him. So special. If your brain is not eaten by a dog, it will be eaten by Jijing next time. This mother is asking her daughter for money. Han Qian took out his mobile phone and called his mother, saying coquettishly into the phone. Mom, my son will give you some money to spend. Does mom still have money? Xiao Qian, don't be reluctant to spend money outside. Mom has money. I went to show you a coat yesterday. It was very nice, but I didn't buy it. Buy whatever you want. Buy it for yourself. You can also change your mobile phone. Your third master doesn't use your mobile phone anymore. You can change your mobile phone and give yours to mom. Okay. Han Qian stood in front of the window smoking a cigarette and talking on the phone. Little did he know that Jijing was standing behind him. Listening to the deep love between mother and son in Han Qian's phone call, Ji Jing covered her mouth to prevent herself from crying, quietly back to the office. Why? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 105. Han Qian didn't notice Ji Jing leaving behind him. He continued to chat with his mother about some common things, and finally Qian's mother told Han Qian. Everyone likes money, but mom tells you, when you use the money you have worked hard to earn, don't come from a good way. If you have money that you can't refuse, find a way to dissipate it and be obedient. I got it. Han Qian only hung up the phone after his mother repeatedly warned him, and did not go back to the planning department to bully Ji Jing. Everyone who came to the company on Saturday was here to work overtime. Han Qian was the only one who wandered around the various floors and jumped around. Yan Qingqing received reports from various departments and called Han Qian to the office with the last call. Tell Han Qian to either stay in the office quietly or go home and make his own choice. Han Qian chose to go home and was rejected. Too lazy to talk to this bitch, he lay on the sofa and played with a snake. Han Qian turned a small bug into an anaconda. Finally, he gave up when the screen could no longer fit. It was nothing to play with. I mean, when he put down his cell phone, Han Qian remembered the game that guy Li Er was talking about. He sat up and looked at Yan Qingqing and said softly, "Do you use your computer? If not, can you lend it to me?" Yan Qingqing was just slightly stunned, then stood up, took the documents to be processed on the table, walked to the sofa and sat down. At this moment, Yan Qingqing suddenly put on a pair of glasses, but it still could not hide her enchanting fox temperament. It gives people a pure and lustful feeling. Han Qian didn't pay much attention to her. He got up and ran around the sofa to Yan Qingqing's computer. He sat in the boss's seat and started tinkering. While studying the game, he sent a text message to Li Er and asked how to download the game. Li Er called directly. Han Qian didn't need to say anything. Li Er talked for 10 minutes before Han Qian figured it out. Before hanging up, he told Li Er that he should go in and take a look. Then Li Er suggested that he want to watch his brother-in-law wreak havoc on the boss. He definitely couldn't come, and it took Han Qian an hour to download the game. Li Er said it was a pirated version, and other than being unable to save it, there was no other impact. When he started the game, Han Qian failed under the raging fire demon Belial, the first boss. He couldn't save and had to start from the beginning. This time Han Qian was more proficient and played the game seriously. Now this game is no longer a pastime. An entertainment is the goal and must be passed. Listening to Han Qian clicking on the keyboard, Yan Qingqing raised her head and took off her glasses, frowning. "Are you playing a game?" "No. It's a brand new challenge." After hearing this, Yan Qingqing ignored her and continued to work with her head down. She thought that Han Qian would not be so bored playing games. That is what Qianwan does. He must be thinking of other plans. Thinking of this, Yan Qingqing couldn't help but smile, stood up and walked out of the office, and came back not long after with a pot of hot tea. She knew that Han Qian didn't like drinking coffee. Or maybe this guy is a bit angry. A cup of hot tea was placed on the table. Yan Qingqing said softly, "You don't have to be so busy on Saturdays. This home shopping mall business can definitely help me gain a foothold in glory. You have nothing to do but rest up." Halfway through the words, Yan Qingqing's face changed, and she looked at Han Qian with gritted teeth. Yan Qingqing saw the game screen from his eyes. I have to say that this woman's eyes were a bit good. Maybe Han Qian was too focused. Yan Qingqing walked around the table and looked at the game screen on the computer, suddenly trembling with anger. As the general manager and top leader of the company, she gave up her comfortable desk to work on the coffee table and gave her computer to this guy, but he ended up playing games here? At this moment, Han Qian was concentrating on attacking the second boss, and did not notice that Yan Qingqing had appeared behind him. He had to admit that this game was really fun. Yan Qingqing took a few breaths to suppress the anger in her heart, then bent down and blew hot air into Han Qian's ear. "General Han, is the game fun? Do you want me to beat your legs?" At this time, her hand had already touched the baseball bat under the table. If Han Qian dared to say yes, she would smash the computer without hesitation. As for smashing Han Qian, she was still a little reluctant, but the result was a little different from what she expected. It is even said that there is a difference as big as heaven and earth. Han Qian didn't even look back. He let go of the mouse and pushed away the head that was blowing in his ear, frowning. "Don't cause trouble, I will kill her right away." He didn't let her beat her legs or turn off the game immediately, but gave Yan Qingqing the most unacceptable result. Disgusted and ignored, Yan Qingqing got angry and put her foot on the power cord. The screen instantly went black. Han Qian looked at the dark computer screen in shock. He turned his head and glanced at Yan Qingqing, then stood up and left. Yan Qingqing was frightened by Han Qian's behavior. After a jump, Yan Qingqing said angrily as she watched Han Qian open the office door. "Han Qian, why are you going?" Han Qian turned his head and looked at Yan Qingqing with a bit of resentment, and whispered, "I will go to the general department to play. Sister Yang will definitely not kick my computer cable. Remember, if you have anything in the future, don't ask me for help." "No. De Han, please stay." Mr. Yan decisively gave in. In fact, she didn't have much resistance or anger when Han Qian played games. She was just a little annoyed by being ignored and disliked by this guy. After all, her sister was also a first-class person who loved everyone and had flowers blooming. Why is this beauty not as attractive as the toad on the computer in your eyes? Turn on the computer again. In fact, Han Qian didn't want to go back to the general department to play. He had to download the game again when he went back, which was very troublesome. Continue to start from the beginning. The first level is very easy. I don't have to say that I passed it with my eyes closed, but it is almost the same. Doing repetitive things makes Han Qian feel a little bored. He said while operating the characters in the game. "Mr. Yan, how much do you know about Aunt Ji?" Yan Qingqing raised her head and frowned. "Han Qian, you are becoming more and more concerned about Ji Jing. What's wrong? Are you attracted to her? Do you want my sister to give you some sweat medicine? She has a deep resistance to men, and pursuing her is impossible. You'll drink that bowl of vinegar later." When I went to the operations department, I saw her taking a call from his mother. It seemed like they were arguing about money. Her salary is very low. What? Are you saying I'm jealous? Yan Qingqing stood up in a flash, then took off her high heels and was about to hit Han Qian's head. Han Qian chose to ignore Yan Qingqing's actions. It was better not to hide. If she did, this girl would definitely throw her shoes over. Seeing Han Qian's calm look, Yan Qingqing threw the shoes aside without feeling embarrassed at all, and asked Han Qian to throw the slippers in the drawer over. After putting on a pair of pink slippers with rabbit ears, Yan Qingqing he frowned and whispered. "Ji Jing's salary is quite high, and after deducting 5 insurances and other miscellaneous things, she can earn around 20,000 yuan. However, her life is not very good. She has 3 blood-sucking bugs on her back, and she also met a scumbag among scumbags. It was also this year that I found out that her family has been asking her for money, and the amount every time is not small. As long as Ji Jing doesn't give her money, her parents will scold her and threaten to come to the company to make trouble. Hey! It's quite pitiful. Don't bully her all the time." After saying this, Yan Qingqing saw Han Qian stand up. Han Qian stood up, scratched his head, and frowned. "I can't defeat this boss. I'll come to the company tomorrow and the day after tomorrow to play. Now I'm going to bully Aunt G for a while. I have nothing to do. Bullying is always a bit addictive. After hearing this, Yan Qingqing's slippers fell into Han Qian's arms, and she frowned and said angrily, "Don't provoke him. You have no sympathy at all." Han Qian picked up the slippers, wrinkled his nose, and whispered, "Mr. Yan, do you wear perfume on your slippers? Do your feet smell? Damn it, you're seeking death, aren't you? Is it useful to have compassion? Bye-bye." This time Yan Qingqing didn't stop Han Qian. She felt that there was something in Han Qian's words. A thankless, bad guy, Han Qian. Haven't you discovered your greatest charm and your biggest problem? This sentence was what Yan Qingqing said with a sigh after Han Qian left the office. I've been jet-lagged lately. There are only 2 updates today, and they were drained yesterday. Vote. Subscribe. Reward. It's up to you to reward. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 106. When Han Qian returned to the planning department, he was carrying a box of dumplings in his hand. When he passed by the business department, he handed them to Qin Shui, who asked this guy to ask Han Daxian if he wanted to eat together. He was taken away by Han Qian. I also ate something on the way here, pork and celery. Ah! I haven't had this stuffing in a long time. There is a silly girl who doesn't eat celery. When she walked into the office, Ji Jing was working, typing something in front of the computer. Han Qian smiled at Ji Jing. Ji Jing was about to cry when she saw Han Qian. This was the first time she felt powerless towards a man. Sighed. "General Han, please let the little girl go, okay?" Han Qian sat opposite Ji Jing and opened the lunch box. The smell of dumplings filled the space between the two of them. He took out a little vinegar and Han Qian took a dumpling in one mouthful and said vaguely, "I have no place to eat. Sister Yang has gone home. Every department looks at me as if I've seen a ghost. Aunt G, you go about your business, and I'll eat mine. Just pretend I don't exist." Ji Jing thought the same way. It was useless to scold Han Qian, to hit him, and to ridicule him. Ji Jing wanted to cry. Why was everyone bullying her? Han Qian was full after eating 2 dumplings. He held his chin with one hand and stared at Ji Jing. Aunt Ji was a beauty. Although she was a little inferior to Wen Wen and Yan Qingqing, it did not affect the fact that she was a goddess and was full of glory. Handsome guy and beautiful girl, Ji Jing can be ranked in the top 10 or even the top 5 no matter what. In fact, what attracts Ji Jing is not her appearance or temperament, but her temper. From the time the two met to getting along, and now, Ji Jing's temper has been clearly understood by Han Qian. Just accept it. She doesn't have many opinions. From the time Ji Jing changed into a purple dress to come to the company, to the talk of going to a street stall to eat, to the intimate acceptance when buying clothes, she has the attributes of a doormat, despite her appearance of being unreasonable. Man, it's all just an act. Of course Han Qian doesn't like Ji Jing. Now he has no intention to like and pay attention to a woman. He has his purpose. Ji Jing was a little panicked when Han Qian saw her, and at this moment her stomach began to protest unsatisfactorily. Ji Jing suddenly blushed and shouted loudly to Han Qian. "Have you never seen a beautiful woman?" Han Qian smiled, pushed the dumpling towards Ji Jing, and said with a smile, "I've seen it before, but this is the first time I've seen you being so stupid, so I'm more interested in you. Aunt Ji, why aren't you wearing that sportswear? We can still be a couple, and everyone in the company is envious of it. As a couple, it's really great when you think about it. I'm afraid Mr. Yan will eat me." Ji Jing was not polite this time. They all hugged each other yesterday. What's so embarrassing about eating this dumpling? At the same time, She didn't take Han Qian's words to heart. There were too many men pursuing her over the years. She had also met all kinds of men. She didn't see any lust in Han Qian's eyes. He was just talking. Ji Jing just listened. Han Qian didn't say a word about the life of eating at Ji Jing. Instead, he took the notebook and put it on his lap to look at what Ji Jing had written. Han Qian suddenly frowned and said with a bit of dissatisfaction, "If you don't have the heart to work, don't do it. Why is this report so messed up?" 2 hours of hard work were ruthlessly deleted by Han Qian. Ji Jing stared at Han Qian. She wanted to grab the computer, but she had no confidence. In the end, she put all her unwillingness and humiliation on the dumplings. Han Qian crackling typing. When Ji Jing finished eating the dumplings, Han Qian spoke. "I heard that you met a scumbag. Tell me why you were such a scumbag and turned you into this." "Mr. Yan told you." "Yeah, there's nothing we two can't talk about, let's talk about it." "Oh. By the way, I was bored when I was downloading the game from Mr. Yan's place, so I finished your report by the way." "Then what are you writing now?" Han Qian put the computer on the table and looked at the big idiots and idiots on the screen. Ji Jing looked at Han Qian in astonishment. She was neither angry nor smiling. She just said that Han Qian was too childish, and then simply told the story about the scumbag. "Tell Han Qian. There is nothing that cannot be said. Nothing happened between the two of them. Ji Jing met a man when she was in college. At that time, she was in financial difficulties. The appearance of this man helped her. He was mature, steady, and a gentleman. He respected Ji Jing very much. He had been with her for half a year. There was no physical contact in that time. The night after graduation, when Ji Jing was about to give herself to this man, he forgot to lock his phone and put it on the bed, and he went to take a shower. Ji Jing was a little curious as she listened to the cell phone that kept making sounds. After opening it, she felt like a fool. There are many women in the same situation as her in this man's mobile phone. There is also a group chat with only 5 people in it. These 5 men share their results of hunting for women in the group. The girl's information, photos, and even the videos were shared by them. She also saw what the man she had fallen in love with said in it. "When I get this delicate flower, I'll give you her contact information." Ji Jing put on her clothes and left. She met Yan Qingqing on the street under a heavy rain. At that time, Yan Qingqing had already received investment from Lu Shengge. She needed to work hard to stand out among all the cultivators, otherwise she would have to repay Lu Shengge's support in recent years. That's how the two met. Of course, Ji Jing only gave Han Qian a general idea, and Han Qian's head was already pretty close. Men may show off their beauty hunting achievements. Even if they don't show off, they will brag to the people around them if they meet a beautiful woman. It's vanity. After hearing this, Han Qian just smiled and did not dwell on the topic. Ji Jing's past had nothing to do with him. Looking at the dumplings that had been eaten, Han Qian slapped his leg and shouted loudly. "Ah! You are so good at eating, I haven't eaten yet." This sentence almost made Ji Jing find a crack in the ground to crawl in. She lowered her head and stood up and said that she was going to buy one for Han Qian. Han Qian did not stop him and allowed Ji Jing to buy dumplings. This time Han Qian waited for one. At 1 hour, it was already 3 o'clock when Ji Jing came back. Seeing Ji Jing panting, Han Qian suddenly laughed. "Actually, I had lunch at noon. I just wanted to bully you." Ji Jing was struck by lightning and stood there stupidly, tears slowly falling from her eyes. Her parents bullied her at home. Gao Xingxing bullied her during the morning meeting. Now Han Qian is also bullying her. Why? Han Qian stood up and walked forward, took the dumplings from Ji Jing's hand and threw them into the trash can. Ji Jing looked at Han Qian with disbelief. She didn't expect him to do this. She didn't drive and didn't stop for a moment. I went to buy dumplings. Han Qian did not comfort her or apologize, he said calmly. Buy a drink. Ji Jing wiped her tears and turned to leave. At this time, Han Qian's expression changed. He had never been so angry before, and he roared at Ji Jing's back. Don't you humming know what resistance is? Are you a humming puppet? Are you being led around by others? The roar made Ji Jing's body freeze in place, and she slowly turned her head to look at Han Qian, pear blossoms with rain. I don't dare, she will come to the company to make trouble, she will force me to get married, she will. Ji Jing understands that she understands everything at this moment. Han Qian has been making things difficult for her since he came back here, deleting her reports, calling her a waste, forcing her to tell her past, buy dumplings and drinks. She understands everything. If she had meant to refuse just now, Han Qian would not have used foul language or continued to make things difficult for her. But Ji Jing didn't dare, she didn't want to either. She wants to deal with all the grievances and difficulties alone, without falling in love or meeting new friends. She doesn't want to implicate anyone. Han Qian looked at Ji Jing angrily and took a deep breath. Go and buy 2 bottles of water. This time Ji Jing still didn't refuse. Don't ask me where I'm from. I'm jet-lagged. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 107. Yan Qingqing came, but she was still a little worried about Ji Jing. Looking at the dumplings thrown into the trash can, looking at the 2 bottles of drinks on the table placed in front of Han Qian, Ji Jing stood aside and choked like an angry little daughter-in-law. Yan Qingqing took a deep breath and left. He stepped forward and took a deep breath. Han Qian, you can humming bully me, but you can't bully Ji Jing. Angry Yan Qingqing had already pounced on Han Qian. Han Qian turned around in his chair and opened his arms, squinting his eyes and smiling. However, the next second he squatted on the ground with his head covered. Ji Jing hurriedly stepped forward to hold Yan Qingqing. Choked. Qingqing, Han Qian didn't bully me, wow. Yan Qingqing's concern and anger made Ji Jing couldn't help but burst into tears. Yan Qingqing held Ji Jing in her arms and looked at Han Qian angrily. At this time, Han Qian was also looking at Yan Qingqing angrily. The next second he stood up and slapped Yan Qingqing's butt hard. The back mound is good. This stirred up a hornet's nest. Han Qian was pinned down on the desk by Yan Qingqing. One hand pressed Han Qian's face, and Han Qian's hand pushed her chin. The 2 of them held their other hands together. Buckle. The fight started. Han Qian, if I don't kill you today, I will take your last name. I won't marry you or let you enter my family tree. Ji Jing kept comforting and explaining on the side. After a full 10 minutes, the stalemate between the 2 ended. Yan Qingqing adjusted her skirt, shook her hair and spoke without apology. Sorry, I don't know. It's okay, I don't intend to forgive you. Seeing that both of them were about to make a move, Ji Jing stood between them. Han Qian opened the drink and drank it in a big gulp. He drank half the bottle in one breath. When Yan Qingqing went to get another bottle, Han Qian quickly opened it and drank it. He took a sip and looked at Yan Qingqing with a proud look on his face. It turned out that he still underestimated Yan Qingqing. This girl opened her mouth and drank without any taboo. Han Qian asked Yan Qingqing rudely if this was an indirect kiss, and then Yan Qingqing asked Han Qian if he wanted to be indirect. Han Qian surrendered decisively. This girl's toughness is beyond his ability to bear. It's time to change the subject. Aunt Ji, how much do you give your family a month? About 15,000. 5,000 yuan has been spent on rent. Are you eating dirt? Han Qian, If you can speak, speak. If you can't, then shut up. Yan Qingqing, do you want to fight? See you in the boxing gym tomorrow. Sister, decide the location. Han Qian and Yan Qingqing quarreled again. Han Qian ignored Yan Qingqing and asked about Jijing again. It was Yan Qingqing who answered that Jijing had a brother who was already 33 and was not married yet. He was doing nothing. Old life, her parents used to work, but since they learned that Jijing could earn a salary of 20,000 yuan a month, they all quit their jobs and stayed at home, waiting for Jijing to support the family. It would be acceptable if she saved a little, but her brother was extravagant and messy, and he got into the house once. Jijing paid 80,000 yuan in compensation, and spent 100,000 yuan inside and outside to get the person out. The money was Jijing's money in yen. Qingqing borrowed it from his hand, and then the three of them found various reasons to ask for money. This year they were even more direct. Every month when Jijing paid his salary, the phone would come as scheduled. Han Qian scratched his head and frowned. How about breaking his legs and letting him lie on the bed? This can save some money. Qingqing, when will our company pay wages? Don't call me Qingqing. Hong Hong, when does our company pay wages? What the hell, number 13. Yan Qingqing had nothing to do with Han Qian. Han Qian smiled at Yan Qingqing. There was nothing wrong with this woman. The only good thing was that no matter how the two of them quarreled, she would not use her status to pressure her. Then Yan Qingqing threatened Han Qian and asked Qingqing to dunk her. Wan, call Hong Hong to interrupt the leg once. Have to. As I didn't say, this bitch is no good anywhere. Han Qian tilted his head and looked at Jijing, wondering. Isn't there still a few days until the salary is paid? Why is it earlier this time? What? Your mother also learned how to speed up the train. It's no wonder Yan Qingqing hit Han Qian, his mouth was really mean. Jijing also glared at Han Qian, and then said helplessly. My brother had a date. They said they wanted to buy a building in the city, which should not be less than 100 square meters. Houses in the city are more than 6,000 square meters per square meter, and they couldn't get a loan. They wanted me to sell the car and then give it to them. Take 200,000. The car loan hasn't been paid off yet, so you can't sell it? Didn't you explain it to her? Don't you listen? Jijing nodded. Han Qian couldn't understand how there could be such parents in the world. It's too late to care about other people's children when they are working outside. This guy is so good. He usually doesn't even care about a phone call. Just make a phone call. Want money? What is this stuff? At this time, Han Qian saw the mobile phone on Jijing's table. He suddenly thought of something and asked with a somewhat skeptical tone while tilting his head. You gave her 15,000 a month and you didn't save any money? And your mobile phone, don't say it's an antique. This is what my mom left over. Oh shit. Han Qian covered his forehead again. He took back what he just said. They are not a toy, not a toy at all. No wonder Jijing doesn't change clothes as often as Yang Lan. When she goes to the mall, she agrees to take photos and give away clothes. It was too difficult for her daughter. Why? Han Qian sighed. Is your home also in a nearby city? I can ask Guandegu to go there and make the target pornographic first. Won't she not want the money? As soon as he finished speaking, Yan Qingqing pointed at the tip of his nose and scolded her. Are you a pig? If Guandegu goes to hell, he will know that it was Jijing who said it. What will he do if he comes to the company to cause trouble? Your brain is so easy to use, can you think of some normal solution? Han Qian was also angry, stood up and said angrily. Then what do you think? You asked me to find a way, and then you scolded me? Yan Qingqing, can you show some respect? General Han, I know I was wrong. Kneel down and kowtow. Yan Qingqing was about to go berserk again. Han Qian hurriedly stopped, and then his cell phone suddenly rang. Guan Yunbiao. Why is this guy calling here at this time? Han Qian made a gesture to silence Yan Qingqing, then answered the phone and laughed loudly. Brother Guan. Brother Han. Ha ha ha, are you busy, Brother Han? Let's meet at a place later. Oops. I might not be able to do it today. I'm working overtime at the company, and Mr. Yan is right next to me. I can't leave. After Han Qian finished speaking, Yan Qingqing suddenly shouted angrily. Han Qian. You suggested giving Tu Xiao money first and I agreed. You have to work overtime at the company today. I believe you, but that doesn't mean I believe everyone. If there is a problem in the mall, you can sell your kidneys to pay for it. Yan Qingqing yelled angrily, but Guan Degu heard it clearly, and then Tu Xiao's voice came from the phone. Ha ha ha, Mr. Yan is indeed Mr. Yan, Biozi, since his uncle is busy with the child, you can make the appointment another day. After hanging up the phone, Yan Qingqing looked at Han Qian with a gossipy face and whispered. Why is Guan Yunbiao looking for you? Han Qian frowned, shook his head, and said in a deep voice. It shouldn't be a bad thing. I guess it's something I don't want to see. I'll go home first. I'll see Aunt Ji on Monday, if you need me. Need. This time Ji Jing didn't hesitate, not even the slightest hesitation. Hearing the word firm, Han Qian smiled. That's right. Remember to bring me dumplings on Tuesday. Delusion. Bye, see you on Monday. Han Qian put away his smile after leaving the house. What could Guan Degu do to him? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 108. Returning to his den, Han Qian closed his eyes and took a deep breath when he walked in the door. This is definitely not my home. I went to the wrong place, right? I went to the wrong place, you little white-eyed wolf. You and I are incompatible with each other. I went home every day for the past few days, and I still didn't feel that the house was in chaos. When I came back a day later, Han Qian didn't want to go inside. When Nuan should have come back in the morning. She changed out of her clothes and put them on the sofa. There were snack bags, shoes thrown crookedly at the door, and a few unwashed bowls on the dining table. After changing his clothes, Han Qian took out his mobile phone and sent a text message to Nuan. Nuan. Little white-eyed wolf, you'd better come back after I calm down. Nuan, who was in a meeting, looked at the text message and her face instantly became embarrassed. Lin Zongheng shouted several times but was ignored by her. Now she only had one thought in her mind. It's over. Han Qian's misophobia broke out. She thinks Han Qian's misophobia is a disease. This man is so clean. As for Lin Zongheng, he is not important. Han Qian was wearing a mask and rubber gloves. The clothes that needed to be washed had been thrown into the washing machine, and the clothes to be dried were folded and placed in their respective rooms. After washing the dishes, Han Qian knelt on the ground and wiped the floor with a rag. This stubborn guy never used a mop. He didn't like the mop being dirty. He spent half an hour mopping the first and second floors, and ended up in a warm room. When Han Qian stood up, he felt like his waist was about to break. Looking at the warm bed, Han Qian closed his eyes and took a deep breath, then pulled off the sheets and quilt, and then his sheets. Take out the clothes from the washing machine and wash them in the basin with your hands to avoid foam. After throwing the sheets into the washing machine, take out another 4-piece set and make the beds in the 2 bedrooms. It was almost 6 o'clock when he finished his busy work. Looking at the brand new bedroom, the living room with floor tiles that could be used as mirrors, and the sofa with no wrinkles at all, Han Qian smiled. It's comfortable to live in a house like this. At 6:15, Nuan opened the door on time. The moment she opened the door, she saw Han Qian sitting on the floor tiles in the living room and staring at her. Nuan's eyes narrowed into crescent moons and he said softly, "Brother Qian, you came back so early today. If you don't come back soon, can this house be inhabited? I'm not talking about you. You are such a big girl, why don't you know how to keep it clean? You can live in this pig's nest quite comfortably. I finally know why Mom didn't let her. If you live alone, she is afraid that you will turn yourself into a clay figure." Han Qian was annoyed and ridiculed. Wen Nuan didn't take it to heart at all. He lifted the bag in his hand and Han Qian shook it and said with a smile, "Brother Qian, I brought you delicious food. Just wait. I'll go cook now." Seeing Wen about to enter the kitchen, Han Qian rushed towards Wen like a cheetah. He was too fast and did not stop the car. He directly pressed Wen on the kitchen door. At this moment, Han Qian's lips were only 0.01 points away from Wen's nose. Inch. Wen Nuan was stunned, and then gently pecked Han Qian's face. This time Han Qian was no longer calm. He took 2 steps back and wiped his face, saying in disgust, "Why are you like this all of a sudden? You, oh, I." While talking and walking, Han Qian was panicked by Wen Nuan's sudden attack. The articulate Han Qian suddenly stuttered. He squinted his eyes and bent down to look at Han Qian from bottom to top. Han Qian's face instantly turned red. Pushing Wen Nuan to ask her to change clothes and stop causing trouble here, and then he walked into the kitchen. Then in the warmth of the living room, I heard Han Qian's laughter in the kitchen. He muttered something silly, then walked to the clothes rack at the door, took out his wallet from Han Qian's clothes and quietly stuffed 2,000 yuan in it. Wen Nuan knew Han Qian well. He would never touch the money in the drawer. Returning the money was just to vent his anger, but he took it seriously. He was willing to spend money on things, but he was very harsh on himself. Wen Nuan didn't want Han Qian to pay back the money. Qian wanted to take out 2,000 yuan for an emergency, and he, an old man like him, didn't know how to pay online. Why? He is so stupid. Not 10 minutes later, Nuan shouted softly from the second floor, "Han Qian, where are my pajamas?" Han Qian replied in the kitchen wearing an apron and holding a spatula. "The wardrobe on the left." "Han Qian, where are my underwear?" "Inside the right middle drawer." "Han Qian." "Under the towels in the bathroom on the second floor." Nuan understands Han Qian, and Han Qian also understands Nuan. Nuan found a hair tie under the towel in the bathroom on the second floor. Nuan trotted into the kitchen wearing pajamas and slippers. He put his hands behind his back and stood on tiptoes to look at the noodles in the pot. He whispered to put some chili pepper in. Ordering chili peppers, when Han Qian didn't respond, she grabbed a handful of dried chili peppers and threw them into the pot. For a moment, the kitchen was choked and couldn't stay. In front of the pool, Han Qian grabbed Nuan's hand and washed her hands. Nuan was crying. The silly child rubbed her eyes with the hand that had caught the pepper. It hurt and kept moaning. After washing her hands, Han Qian told her that she could wash her face. As for the dish with chili peppers, Han Qian threw it away. Although it was a pity, there was nothing he could do about it. He couldn't eat spicy food. Nuan was very fond of food and would fall ill after eating it. There was only one dish and one soup for dinner, and Nuan didn't dare to be picky about food anymore. Her eyes were still a little red at this moment. During the meal, Han Qian told Nuan about Jijing's story. The eldest lady was very confused after hearing this. Is there still such a family? A son is a son and a daughter is a tool for making money. This kind of family that favors sons over daughters still exists. Han Qian held his rice bowl and sighed. It doesn't exist, and there are many more, including many in my hometown. Let's talk about my aunt, which you probably haven't met yet. She has 4 daughters just to have a boy. 2 daughters from my second uncle's family, and finally she gave birth to a boy, and my cousin couldn't live up to his expectations. He couldn't steal anything but a fire extinguisher. In the end, my second uncle sold 7 cows and was sentenced to 2 years. Alas! His basic necessities for a year were all from my 2 cousins. I'm supporting him, but he doesn't need any money, but I gave him a mobile phone to my cousin. I think the girl is pretty good, and I know the Gu family, but this boy won't recognize his parents after he gets married. Don't. It's a human problem and it has nothing to do with marriage. After we get married, I care more about mom and dad than you do, right? To put it bluntly, it's because of money. Having money can solve many family conflicts, but having no money, even breathing is wrong. Are you going to help this Zhizheng? Han Qian, do you still feel that your peach blossoms are not enough? As he spoke, Wen Nuan put a piece of pork belly in Han Qian's bowl, and Han Qian mumbled while eating the rice. I don't have any peach blossoms, don't talk nonsense. Yan Qingqing doesn't count. Don't mention her, we had a fight in the company today. Puff. Wen Nuan wanted to laugh when he saw Han Qian fuming, but he didn't dwell too much on the matter. For Yan Qingqing's excessive concern for Han Qian, Wen Nuan never blamed Han Qian in her heart. She just said what she said, an excellent man. You will definitely encounter such suitors, this is inevitable and inevitable. After eating a bowl of rice, Han Qian put down the bowl, poured a bowl of soup and sighed. I want to help Zhizheng. We have a good relationship in the company. Her life is not good to begin with. If she loses her job when she comes to the company, her life may lose its brightness. I can't save everyone in the world. People, but I can't help but want to help when people around me are in trouble. Oh. You don't object. Why are you objecting? This is your personality. You won't listen to me if I object. Why bother with that? Now we live under the same roof, or in the past few years, I have never been too restrictive. Live your freedom. I feel that when 2 people live together, there is no need to force one of them to live according to the other person's life. Whether they know each other, fall in love, or live together, aren't 2 people mutual. It's rare for a dog to spit out ivory from its mouth. Wen Nuan pouted and hummed, acting like a sister who doesn't care about you. After dinner, Wen Nuan took the initiative to help wash the dishes. The 2 of them stood by the sink, washing dishes while Han Qian was in charge of visiting. Han Qian. Oh. Han Qian. Han Qian. I'm not blind. Wen Nuan would always call him out every time he washed a bowl and handed it to Han Qian. After a few calls, Han Qian started to resist. This time Wen Nuan shouted, but the result was still the same. Han Qian. Han Qian. Even if Han Qian didn't speak, she would call his name. At night, when Han Qian took a shower, he looked at his back in the mirror, and the wound began to lessen. He said that when he was holding a pillow on the bed to study the background story of Devil May Cry 4, Nuan pushed the pillow away and threw it on the tatami. Within a minute, he came here wearing a quilt. Go over there and get some new sheets, I don't like the color. I'll sleep here today. Then I'll go to your room. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian stood up and whispered softly while lying on the tatami bed. I'm misophobic. Han Qian was furious immediately. I bother. There are 2 more updates left, so remember to vote. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 109. Nuan went to the company to work overtime on the weekend. From what Nuan said, there was nothing important in the company. It was Lin Zongheng who was showing off. When she went out, she asked Han Qian if he needed a car. If so, she threw the car at home. Han Qian he shook his head and said he would rest at home today. After breakfast, Han Qian went back to the second floor to take a nap. Not long after he lay down, he was woken up by a phone call. He couldn't calm down all day. Li Er asked Han Qian on the phone if he had cleared the customs and if he wanted to come together on the weekend. After some research, Han Qian didn't agree to this child. Once he gets attached to him, he won't have to do anything else for the day. Promising to be together next week, I was woken up not long after hanging up the phone. Walking out of the unit and looking at the hazy sky, Han Qian felt that it was going to rain. It happened that the two children, Li Jiayi and Xiao Tukun, went home for lunch. The two children were very enthusiastic about their uncle, and Han Qian did not meet them either. Outside, ask Li Jiayi to get him an umbrella. He wants to go out. Half an hour later, at the Pengpengliang cold drink shop in Zongjia, Han Qian didn't quite understand why Guandegu had made an appointment at this place. There were all children in their late teens here, so he wasn't afraid of scaring others. After calling for 2 days in a row, Han Qian couldn't figure out what Guandegu was going to do. Everything that needs to be done has been done, and there is nothing left to do. What does this guy want to do? When Han Qian was confused, Guan Yunbiao came over with 2 glasses of cold drinks. Han Qian looked at Guandegu and joked when he would dye his hair red. The guy smiled and said he didn't dare, it was too ostentatious. Wearing a plaid shirt with big shorts, a gold chain hanging around his neck, and a tattooed arm, does this guy know that he is too ostentatious? The scene of 2 grown men sitting here eating ice cream always felt a little weird. Han Qian asked Guandegu if he wanted to find a place to have a meal. Guan Yunbiao nodded first, then shook his head and picked up the bag. The black plastic bag in his hand was placed on the table and pushed towards Han Qian. Han Qian opened it, took a look, frowned slightly, and said softly, "What? Boss 2 is being generous again? Because of Li Er, I can't take over your business. Besides, I don't know much about this, so just forget about the money. 100,000. Neatly. Although Han Qian was short of money, he confiscated it. Guan Yunbiao smiled bitterly, shook his head, and pushed the money to Han Qian, smiling bitterly. Brother Han, this money has nothing to do with my master's business. Don't forget that Lin Zonghong gave me 100,000. My master found out about this yesterday. He slapped me twice and scolded me severely. I was indeed blinded by money. I borrowed this money from my master. Please accept it, Brother Han. I am on good terms with Brother Han. For Han Qian's safety, I will definitely not pay it back. Lin Zonghong, so. Han Qian had a smile on his lips and chuckled. Don't regret it? 100,000 is not a small amount. Boss 2 won't make much from this transformation. Maybe I will regret it tomorrow, but I feel happy, otherwise I will always feel like I owe you something, and I can't be your little brother. Han Qian took the plastic bag from the table and told Guan Yunbiao to find a place to have lunch and he would treat it. The two walked to the parking lot on Zongjia in a tacit understanding. Han Qian looked at Guan Yunbiao, who did the same, and then said in unison, "Where's your car? Where's your car?" Such a tacit understanding made the two of them smile at the same time, and then spoke in unison. "I didn't open it. The car is not at home." In this case, they could only take a taxi. The two grown men had the same destination. The snack bar next to the train station was a simple earthen house. When they got off the bus, Han Qian took out his wallet to pay and found that the wallet was full. Is this considered pocket money? Han Qian didn't know why he came up with this idea. He walked into the small restaurant. It was very lively and almost full. The boss seemed to be very familiar with Guan Yunbiao. He called Biozi and found a place to sit and he would arrange it. The small restaurant has no signboard, and most of the people who come here to eat are migrant workers. Han Qian looked at the plates of dishes that were brought to the table. Isn't this plate too small? While waiting, Guan Degu went to help settle the accounts. The landlady is an old lady, so she didn't need to order. She brought plates to the table, including stewed pork belly with sauerkraut in a copper pot, a plate of roasted eggplant, a plate of braised pork and a plate of cold endive. The landlady asked jokingly that Guan Yunbiao was 10 years old this year. How old are you? Why are you still dressing like a child? Guan Yunbiao said with a smile that he is 18 years old. Han Qian asked with a smile as he drank cold beer with hot sauerkraut. Very familiar. Guan Yunbiao drank half of the bottle in one sip, burped and laughed. During the 14th five-year plan, there was no place to eat. My mother, whom I had never met before, ran away with someone. I found out that my father, who drank and gambled, had married a young lady. I was kicked out of the house. When I almost starved to death, I met Aunt Sun and helped her. I washed dishes and tidied the table. I stayed there for 2 years and gave me 300 yuan in pocket money a month. It was a mess here at that time. There was no surveillance. It was fast if the police could be dispatched half an hour after a fight. Han Qian took a bite of the braised pork. It was soft, glutinous, and sweet, and melted in his mouth. He smiled at Guan Yunbiao again. Don't say someone is causing trouble and you start a fight with someone. You are absolutely right. The one who came here to get drunk and cause trouble is my current master. He was young and impulsive at that time. I don't know where he learned the saying catch the thief first, catch the king. He took a kitchen knife and pointed it at my master. The eldest brother at that time chopped me down and was almost beaten to death. Aunt Sun knelt down for them and I survived. The master came the next day and asked me if I wanted revenge. Of course I did. A month later, I have been with my master for almost 20 years. Tu Xiao killed his eldest brother. This was not an accident. Those who followed their path would either be dogs for the rest of their lives, or be ruthless and raise their own dogs. When Han Qian drank the second bottle, Guanda the dog suddenly told Han Qian mysteriously. Aunt Sun's daughter is my secret mistress. Bah, are you a humming human being? She is blind. I gave her 10,000 yuan a month and bought her a house in the city center. Her name is 120 square meters. It is on a high floor with an elevator. I hired 2 nannies to take care of her. My master is helping me. Find a suitable cornea, and wait until that day, and she will be free. Han Qian stopped talking. He didn't know if Guan Degu was expressing gratitude in a side way. 10,000 yuan a month was already a lot. Guan Degu made all his money by walking on a tightrope. Maybe this was gratitude. The two clinked glasses and drank the second bottle. Then Han Qianxiao asked Guan Degu if he was married. Guan Degu smiled and nodded. I'm done. Just like my father, he married a prostitute and gave birth to a child for me. She knows everything I do outside, and she also knows about my support. She never asks. Don't you dare. It's not that she doesn't dare, she understands my temperament. If I drink too much, she will lock me out for a night and won't let me in to disturb the children. She will also quarrel with me over trivial matters, but there is no quarrel over this matter. What the hell is this? Are all women today so generous? This idea was instantly rejected by Han Qian. This was not generosity, but understanding. Guan Degu is trying to make amends with this lover. His heart is still at home and with his children. After 6 bottles of beer, Han Qiandu became more talkative. He told Guan Degu about Jijing without mentioning her name. Ever since he learned about this matter, it has been difficult for him to understand. Don't all parents care about their children? How could there be such a family? After hearing this, Guan Yunbiao closed his eyes and sighed, then smiled. Brother Han, What you have seen is the bright side of this world. You have seen too few dark things. But I have seen all the darkness. 2 years ago, a similar thing happened at our debt company. The little girl came to borrow 80,000 yuan without any mortgage. She had nothing but a work address. The little girl knelt in front of me and hugged my legs and begged me, saying that she was still a young lady and she was willing to be my mistress. It's only 80,000 yuan. It will take her the rest of her life to pay it back. Oh, I'm so blessed. What's the result? Han Qian opened a bottle of beer again and placed it in front of Guandegu. Guandegu took out a cigarette and handed it to Han Qian, lit it, exhaled and grinned. It didn't work out. She committed suicide. I didn't promise her to be my mistress. The little girl was only 21 years old. Her father asked her to prepare a bride price for his 19-year-old brother. In the countryside, 80,000 yuan. If not, then marry her to a bachelor in the village and use her bride price to marry her younger brother. The bachelor is already 40 years old and can be her father. Guandegu is not a good person, but my heart is also flesh. Boss, I gave her 30,000 yuan and told her that there would be no interest on the money. After sending her home, she would come here to work. She would have food, shelter, and no salary, and the account would be settled in 15 months. Unfortunately, she never came back after she returned. Ran. No, she is still married. She is still the 40-year-old bachelor who hanged himself on the night of the wedding. Brother Han. Do you think this is a hummed-up life? Han Qian sighed and smoked heavily. What kind of humming parents are these? Guandegu took out a cigarette again, lit it, and continued. It turns out that old bachelor didn't even let go of the body, ha. He begged me to let him go. I asked him, did she beg you? He hesitated, and then I understood everything. I cut off his lifeblood, chopped off 2 of the girl's father's fingers, and I told him that I bought this thing for 30,000 yuan. How much older is she than my eldest daughter? My eldest daughter is right, her understanding of money is very limited to numbers. What about her? Guandegu became angrier as he spoke. He raised his beer, and Han Qian raised his bottle at the same time. Ding! 2 cases of beer, 2 men. In the end, Guandegu lay on the table crying like a child. Han Qian was not comforted. He heard what Ji Jing said, that his mother asked her to get married. Hummed life, dirty world. Ancestors, here comes the second chapter. Remember to vote and join the group. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 110. Guandegu was sent back by Han Qian. In Tu Xiao's office, the 2 guys were lying on the sofa sleeping in the dark. Tu Xiao stood by the sofa and looked at the 2 drunk guys, feeling a little headache. It was past 2 o'clock and almost 3 o'clock when these 2 guys came back. It was almost dark outside now, so they continued to sleep like this. Bioz is easy to say, just let him sleep here, but what about Han Qian? Enjoy the ex-husband of Vice President Wen and the think tank around General Manager Glory? If he said that he was sleeping here for one night and was drunk, who would believe it? Tu Xiao took out his mobile phone from Han Qian's pocket and saw the plastic bag wrapped around Han Qian's hand and neck. Tu Xiao felt a little comfortable when he thought that this guy had swindled 130,000 yuan from him. I made a call to Nuan. Vice President Wen, your ex-husband fell asleep at my place, Tu Xiao. Come and pick him up. After hanging up the phone, Tu Xiao called Yan Qingqing again. Haha, Mr. Yan, your think tank is sleeping in my office right now. He seems to have drunk too much. Come and pick him up. Then Tu Xiao sat on his boss's chair and waited for the two women to appear. It's comfortable, it's comfortable. Fortunately, Tu Xiao only knew the phone numbers of Nuan Nuan and Yan Qingqing. Nuan Nuan's number was in the phone book. As for Yan Qingqing, Tu Xiao knew it. 6:40. Two women appeared in Tu Xiao's office. Looking at the drunken Han Qian and Guan Yunbiao, Yan Qingqing looked at Tu Xiao and said coldly. Did you do it? Boss too. I hope our cooperation will be happy, instead of you bullying my glorious hero. The warm complexion is equally ugly, and the mouth is equally cold. Tu Xiao, you are very good. Get my man drunk. Wen Nuan is not afraid of Tu Xiao at all. Her family background is just enough to restrain this black boss. Yan Qingqing looked at Wen Nuan coldly. Your man. Nuan Nuan frowned. If it's not yours? We have a marriage certificate. Tu Xiao smiled and smoked his cigar. You two may have misunderstood. My uncle drank with Biozi outside. As for why he didn't go home or call you two after drinking, well, you two should think about it carefully instead of coming here. Ask me, Tu Xiao, take him away. If you don't take me away, I will have someone take him to my bath. The women there know how to serve men better than the two of you. I, Tu Xiao, can't take care of you two little girls. Yan Qingqing and Wen Nuan snorted coldly at the same time, and lifted Han Qian up one by one. As for the plastic bag in Han Qian's hand, Tu Xiao had already taken it away and would deliver it to him tomorrow. Tu Xiao looked along the window. Han Qian, an excellent man, should make these two women jealous and fight to take him away. The result surprised him. Han Qian was disliked. Yan Qingqing left Han Qian to Nuan Nuan alone and said coldly. Your ex-husband, take care of yourself. My sister won't take care of you anymore. It was a bit difficult for Nuan Nuan to support Han Qian alone, and he couldn't help frowning. How can I get him back alone? Yan Qingqing, you are his boss, you are not responsible for the safety of your employees. Are you going to let him sleep here all night? Me? I'm not married yet. What's going on if I take him home? Who asked you to take him home? I asked you to help me take him back to his home. Then you took advantage of someone's danger and harmed Han Qian while he was drunk. Then I don't want it either. Han Qian sat on the curb with his head lowered. No one wanted him now. The two of them seemed to be angry. They stood with each other holding each other's arms, saying that they didn't care, but they still couldn't bear to part with each other in their hearts. The two women were competing with each other. But it was a pain for Han Qian. Han Qian murmured in his sleep. Water, Mom, water. Perhaps when people are most vulnerable and in need of help, they think of their mothers. Yan Qingqing and Wen Nuan walked to their cars at the same time. 2 bottles of water appeared in front of Han Qian. Wen Wenwen took the lead to put down the water and helped Han Qian to sit down. Straight, as if lying in her arms, Yan Qingqing gently fed Han Qian the water. After drinking the water, Han Qian opened his eyes in a daze, and what caught his eye was Yan Qingqing. He grinned. It's red. Yan Qingqing almost went berserk and poured a bottle of water on Han Qian's head. Wen Nuan lightly hit Han Qian's forehead. Han Qian felt nothing and fell asleep again. He really can't drink. In the end, Han Qian got into Wen Nuan's car. Yan Qingqing threw the car keys to the younger brother who had been standing by to help, and asked him to tell Tu Xiao to send the car to the company tomorrow. Han Qian sat in the back seat and rested on Yan Qingqing's stockinged legs. Nuan Nuan drove and kept looking at Han Qian along the rearview mirror. He glanced at Han Qian, but Yan Qingqing couldn't help it and said angrily. Can you drive well? He's so drunk. Will your bowl of vinegar kill him if he drinks it later? I don't know why he's so crazy. How much did he drink? I'm not good at driving? Then why don't you drive a Raptor to see Han Qian off? How are we going to get him into such a high car? What the hell, red light, red light, red light. I know, Yan Hu, don't shout. Nuan Nuan no longer quarreled with Yan Qingqing, she ran a red light. When we returned to the community, it was completely dark, and then Yan Qingqing and the doorman quarreled. The reason was why the car could not be driven in. The old man of the doorman was very stubborn and told Yan Qingqing that if she dared to curse, he would lie down on the ground and cry out for help. Pain. Nuan Nuan shouted for Yan Qingqing to come over and help. Two women were driving a man. Two goddesses to be exact. When they walked into the community, the children who were playing basketball were getting ready to go home. This time they were stimulated by Han Qian again. Last time, this long-legged and cold-looking beautiful sister accompanied this guy to play ball. After that, it was the sister Daji who drove up. Pick him up, and now these two goddesses are supporting him together? How charming is he? After returning home, Han Qian was thrown into the guest room. He couldn't go up to the second floor. Yan Qingqing looked at the sleeping Han Qian and wondered. Why is there no movement when he is sleeping? Is he dead? Nuan Nuan sat on the edge of the bed and shook his sore arms, saying disgustedly. That's it? Sometimes I worry that he will die suddenly and I have to get up and take a look. Get up and take a look? Yan Qingqing became a little uneasy and stammered. You, sleep together. Seeing this, Wen Nuan suddenly smiled and nodded shyly. Then Yan Qingqing lost her composure and went to bed next to Han Qian. She looked at Wen Wen with a wary look and said seriously. I know what you said is true, but I can confirm that you are still a virgin. So. I want to be here tonight, and I can't let you rape my glorious hero, which will cause great psychological trauma to him. Yan Qingqing, are you sick? This is my home. Get out. Don't come out. This is a house rented by Han Qian, and you are just a tenant. Besides, I don't drive. I'm scared. Uncle your fox paws, don't let spring happen here again. Where is your hand? Why are you holding Han Qian's hand? You are divorced. Neither of the two women gave in, and they were in a stalemate in the guest room. The stalemate lasted for more than 2 hours. Yan Qingqing couldn't bear it anymore and asked where Han Qian's room was. She was going to bed. This woman was nowhere to be seen. Besides, she was sent to her room by Nuan Nuan. She didn't want Yan Qingqing, a fox, to lie on Han Qian's bed. Midnight. The doors of the two bedrooms on the second floor were opened at the same time. Wen Nuan looked at Yan Qingqing, and Yan Qingqing looked at Wen Nuan. The two women said in unison that they should go to the bathroom. Then both women did not move. Wen Nuan squinted at Yan Qingqing and smiled. You go ahead, I'll go to the first floor. Yan Qingqing smiled charmingly. No hurry, I'll go to the first floor. I'm worried that Han Qian will be thirsty in the middle of the night. I just went to deliver water. Bah, my sister hasn't been sleeping, and you haven't been out. Han Qian on the first floor had already woken up. Listening to the conversation between the two women on the second floor, he covered his head with the quilt and said angrily while biting his back teeth. Tu Xiao, I'm going to hum your grandma. Happy New Year to my brothers. May you have good health in your young life. Spend time with your family on the day of reunion. If you are not home, remember to call your parents and those who care about you. There will be no reminder for votes today. It's best to be happy and safe. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 111. It's daybreak. But Han Qian didn't want to get up. In the end, he had to face reality because he couldn't hold it in any longer. Bathroom. Han Qian was lingering inside and couldn't get out. The two women had already gotten up and took several deep breaths. Han Qian opened his mouth and smiled at the two women. Wake up, what do you want to eat in the morning? Yan Qingqing, who was combing her hair in front of the mirror, didn't even look at Han Qian. She sat on the sofa and drank milk and spoke warmly. Yan Hu, be careful. If your hair falls on the ground, Han Qian will kill you. It's okay. My sister doesn't lose her hair. She only has to worry about getting wrinkles. They chose to ignore Han Qian, and Han Qian didn't look for trouble. He went to eat, cook porridge, and prepare breakfast. He had forgotten why he left the restaurant yesterday. Fortunately, Quan Daegu sent him a message in the morning, saying the money is with him and will be delivered in the afternoon. Millet porridge, boiled eggs, and some pickles sent by my mother. Breakfast is not rich. Yan Qingqing sipped the porridge in small sips. Han Qian had just opened an egg and Yan Qingqing reached out to grab it. Then Han Qian saw Wen Nuan staring at her with murderous eyes. Han Qian opened another egg and Yan Qingqing took action this time. Slow down, Wen Nuan bit the egg and said angrily. You're not afraid of choking to death. Han Qian, I don't have time to ask you what happened yesterday. When you get back in the evening, you'd better explain to me why you and Guan Yunbiao drank so much. You don't know how much you drank without knowing it. Han Qian silently stretched out 2 fingers, and Yan Qingqing smiled when she saw this. 2 boxes. Not bad. 2 bottles. Listening to Han Qian's weak reply, Yan Qingqing was too lazy to talk to this guy. Can a grown man drink 2 bottles of beer? After breakfast, Wen Nuan waited for Yan Qingqing to go out. As for Han Qian taking a taxi, she sent Yan Qingqing away first. She couldn't see or control what she wanted to do when she returned to the company, but they must not be given a chance to be alone after get off work. Yan Qingqing didn't sleep last night and was worried about Han Qian, which made Nuan feel a great sense of crisis. Seeing the 2 women driving away in a car, Han Qian couldn't help but sigh, then raised his head, raised his 2 fingers and shouted loudly. Back in time. The result was no change at all, and a minute passed. Since you can't turn back time, let's move forward. When he arrived at the general department, Han Qian felt that his life had lost its color. De Qianer and Suliang were transferred away, and his position also changed. There was an extra table at the door of Yang Lan. This was Han Qian's exclusive position. Like the 2 people next to the teacher's podium at school, Han Qian was in a dazed state throughout the morning. Fortunately, De Qianer and Suliang came to have dinner with Han Qian at noon, which made Han Qian feel a little happy. Li Dongsheng looked at the 3 of Han Qian with cold eyes. He could no longer stand them. Bedbug, poor devil. In the restaurant, Han Qian was holding a bowl of beef noodles. After eating the hot beef noodles, he felt a lot better. Then the 3 of them began to gather together to complain. Suliang went to the operations department and was taken away by Jijing in the morning. De Qianer stayed in the personnel department, and Han Qian was under surveillance in the general department. The 3 of them sighed at the same time. Why? After dinner, De Qianer went back to play games. The girl changed to another game. Han Qian suggested that she try the Devil May Cry series of games. Qianwan pouted and said that the game had already been played and cleared once, so it was not interesting. Qianwan pursues results and the best, while Han Qian wants to experience fun. Different. While he was smoking, Guan Daegu came and brought money to Han Qian without even changing a bag. The 3 of them squatted at the door blowing smoke, and all the clerical girls passing by walked around. A big gangster, 2 violent maniacs. It is true that there is no way to make people like them. Of course, these 3 guys don't care about this. If they cared about what others think, they would not be like this. In the distance, Guan Yunbiao's younger brothers gathered together and laughed, and Han Qian smoked and laughed. Road. Why did you bring so many younger brothers out today? Do you have a new mission? Guan Dago sighed. Hey. Aren't we ready for transformation? My master wants to collect all the external accounts and wants me to find some construction companies to borrow some talents. Tu Xiao knows how to do business. Not only does he steal other people's business, but he also has to borrow people. Judging from Guan Yunbiao's attitude, he doesn't seem to be discussing with others in a gentle manner. It's obvious that you can lend me a loan so that we can talk. If you don't want to lend me, then find another way. Guan Dago seemed to have nothing to do in the afternoon. As for Han Qian, he was even more free. It was better to smoke at the door than back to the general department. But Suliang couldn't do it. He smoked a cigarette and got up and left first, returning to the operations department. When he got up, he looked at Han Qian's clothes and muttered something like Minister Ji's clothes and those of a couple, and the shoes were the same. Han Qian was too lazy to explain, so he just let Suliang say it. Slowly, the two people at the door changed from squatting to sitting. The security guard wanted to remind the two of them if they wanted to change places, but unfortunately he didn't dare. After a while, Gao Fengxian came out, and this guy seemed to be waiting for him again. Sun Ya picked him up, stood behind the two of them, put her hands on their shoulders, and smiled. No wonder Boss Tu suddenly changed his mind. It turns out that Biozi and Han Qian are on good terms. This surprised me a little. The two of them knew who it was without turning around. Guan Yunbiao turned his back to Gao Xingzi and curled his lips without saying anything. Han Qian turned around and smiled. Mr. Gao is going out again. Can you go out and see you too? Find a place to sit if you have time. Gao Jishi once again extended an olive branch to Han Qian. I have to admire this guy. Now that the situation has become like this, he can still calmly win over Han Qian. Do all high-ranking people have such a broad mind? No. At least not the grandson Lin Zongheng. Come to think of it, I haven't seen this guy for a long time. After rejecting Gao Fulai many times, Han Qian didn't want to make things too tense. Just when he was about to agree, a taxi stopped at the main entrance of Glory, and a family of 3 got out of the car. The 2 old people were the same age as Han Qian. Qian's parents are about the same age. They are dressed in a fashionable manner and have a very arrogant attitude. Han Qian frowned slightly. Could it be that Li Dongshen's parents are here? Probably not. Li Dongshen's parents probably wouldn't have taken a taxi. A family of 3 walked towards the Glory. The bejeweled old woman wore an expensive white dress, with a gold bracelet on her left hand, and earrings similar to high-end styles hanging on her ears. She stood in front of the bully of the general department. In her eyes, the 2 young men sitting on the steps were not wearing suits. They looked arrogant and were sitting here smoking during work hours. At first glance, he didn't look like a big shot. The man standing behind them looked cheaply dressed, but he didn't look like a serious person in this slutty way. Go, call Ji Jing from your company, don't let me go find her by myself. The middle-aged woman looked at Gao Xingxing with her finger arrogantly, but Gao Xingxing said coldly without even looking at her. Where did the cats and dogs come from? Come here. Drive them away. Just because Gao Jishi has a good temper towards Han Qian doesn't mean he has a good temper towards everyone. For how many years, no one has dared to point at him and order him like this. The middle-aged woman looked at the security guards hurried over, suddenly lost her temper and shouted sharply. Do you know who I am? I am the biological mother of the manager of the operations department of your company. You are not going, are you? Then you who are wearing flowery trousers are going. You don't look like a serious person. Don't say I let me my daughter fired you. Guan Yunbiao was slightly stunned, raised his finger and pointed at the tip of his nose, wondering. What do you mean about me? This time the middle-aged woman didn't speak, but the middle-aged man in a suit behind her spoke, pretending to be cold. If you want to go, just go. What nonsense. Guan Yunbiao smiled, stood up, shook his head, and then whistled. At this moment, the boys in suits from a distance rushed over, and 12 or 3 people instantly surrounded Ji Jing's parents. In front is the security guard of Glory, and behind is Guan Yunbiao's younger brother. Han Qian looked at Ji Jing's mother and grinned. Tisk, tisk, tisk. He pointed at Gao Xing'ai and said, "This is the deputy general manager of our honor group, your daughter's immediate boss." The words were directed at Guan Yunbiao. "This is Brother Biao, a well-known man in the 8th district. He has hundreds of subordinates. You are so lucky. You provoked 2 people you shouldn't have provoked when you came here." At this moment, Ji Jing's parents were already a little panicked, but her fat and oily brother didn't seem to be afraid. He looked at Han Qian and said coldly, "Then what are you?" Ji Jing had already come downstairs at this time. She saw the formation in front of the main entrance. She was already panicking when her parents were surrounded by Du Gao and Guan Yunbiao. Then she saw the man in blue sportswear. The man stood up slowly. "Me? I'm her man." Sudden. Ji Jing's mother plopped down and sat on the steps, clapped her legs with both hands, and cried loudly. "Hitting someone, beating someone. Call for votes, call for votes."